Hello everyone and welcome back for part 2 of the workshed build. So in this episode I'm going to be putting the walls and the roof frame up. So here you can just see us basically laying the basic frame out, and this is going to be for the back section. This is really easy when you're doing it on a nice flat surface, which I am on the floor. So I actually take my time and I get the corners square. I think this makes a big difference when you take the time to do this. Another thing that worked out really well for us was to use the noggins. I had all the noggins cuts before I even started putting this together. I had pretty much all of the material cuts. I made use of a really rainy day where I couldn't do a great deal. So I basically just used the noggins to space all the framework out, and this worked out really well. One thing I did do here was to use the same noggin that I used for the bottom section, and this is just to minimise any discrepancies. So if there was a slight discrepancy on one of the noggins, it shouldn't really make much of a difference because I'm using the same noggin for the same spacing, and it actually worked out really well. When I actually screwed all this together and stood it up, everything was nice and square. I had to do very little plumbing it in. It pretty much did itself when I started putting the screws in. So I fixed a couple of pieces of scrap wood, and this is basically just something for the framework to butt up against when I stand the framework up, so to kind of literally slide off the edge of the base, and I'm not struggling. I used two sections of the framework, and this is for two reasons. First reason is that when I am actually lifting the framework up, if I should slip or anything like that, it's not going to come crashing back down on us. And also when it's up vertically, I'm actually going to use these two sections for plumbing the first wall up. So you can see how those two legs work. They basically just dig themselves into the ground should the frame actually want to come back down on us, which obviously it didn't. Once it's up to height, I then put a couple of screws in and make sure everything's square, and that keeps it in place. Very neat trick when you're working by yourself. So I did the same with the front wall, and this is actually the last section of wall to go up. I did actually go for it this way rather than do the back, then one of the gables, which is more the done thing. Obviously, if you do a corner first, it actually gives the structure more strength, but because of my circumstances, I didn't need to do that. So I did actually just go for the back, the front, and then the two gable ends. Same sort of thing. I didn't struggle at all with the gable ends. The gable ends were nice and light. Same again, nice and easy. Check for plumb, and then basically fix everything together with screws. Next up, I put the header beams on, and this is just to carry the weight of the roof. So at either end, at the gables, I did actually let it hang over a foot, because I'm actually going to have the whole entire roof extending over a foot. So with those in place, I put my first beam on. You can't really see what I'm doing here, but what I am doing is using my short spirit level, and I'm plumbing it so it's vertical, and this is just going to give us my angle. So that angle, I can actually transfer it to a sliding bevel, and transfer that to the fronts of the beam, and this also helps us to make some of the lines for the two notches that I'm going to put in. So something else that I did that you couldn't really see was I used a piece of scrap 3x2, and this was used to get the position of the notches. So there you could see us with the sliding bevel. I set the angle. Basically, I cut the two ends of the beam, or the joist if you will, and then I started cutting the notches. So this was a little bit time consuming, I must admit. I was getting it done in about 15 minutes. So that was the two notches cut, the two ends cut to an angle and measured and onto the framework. As I said, it was a bit slow going, but I did get there in the end. So when I was putting these on, they were measured, but I didn't actually put any screws in, basically left them loose. I measured them once, I measured them twice, then I did actually put the screws in, but even with the screws in, I still had to measure them the third time, and there was about two joists that I did have to move, but all in all it wasn't too bad. So yeah, you can see the rain again. Honestly, I've picked a really bad time to make this workshop. To be honest, I couldn't have picked the worst time. So I've had rain, I've had snow, I've had high winds, you name it, I've had it. So you can actually see a shot, and I'm actually just putting a brace in. Really, I would have preferred to get the noggins in some of the side walls up, just to give the structure a little bit more strength. So here you can see is double checking, triple checking even, just to make sure I've got these joists in the right place for when I actually put the OBS boards on the roof. So I start bringing the OBS boards, I get one on, that's kind of my base. I mess around with it, I try to get it as square as possible, everything lined up, take my time with it, get a couple of screws in it, and that's pretty much just going to be my base. So one thing I must add with this is that usually the noggins would be in the walls, there'd probably be more brace in the walls. or even the side, or some of the material would be into the side walls, the front walls, so on and so forth. Because I didn't do any of this, because we've had such bad weather, and I was just trying to get the roof done and dusted as quickly as possible to give the structure some protection from the elements, I've just basically jumped straight up. This is not advisable. As you can see, the structure's wobbling like crazy because, as I said, there's no noggins in. You can see some braces in it, and basically there's about a handful of screws in those braces. It was just minimal, just enough to get us up there, just so I could get the roof on and get the felt on just before the rain started. So I did actually get all the felt on. Ironically, after I did get the felt on, it did start raining, or during when I was doing it, it did start raining. So it was a bit of a relief to actually get the roof on. That was one of my main kind of problems, just for the well I was having, because of the time of year I've chose to do this. Again, not really the time I should be choosing to do it. So once the felt was down, I did actually apply a lot of nails to the top, and I've actually left all of the sides because the felt is actually going to be folded down when I actually do get the fascia and the soffits in. So yeah, you can see, as after I've done all that, it is actually raining, ironically, and I just started putting all the noggins in. So that's pretty much it for the side walls. So in the next video I am going to be showing putting the membrane on, putting the cladding on. So let us know what you think, guys. Is there anything you would have done differently? I'm sure there is. There's a lot quicker and better ways to do some of the stuff that I have been doing. So let us know in the comments. If you haven't subscribed already, I'd really appreciate it. And don't forget to give us a like if you've liked it. And until the next video, I shall see you guys later.